Founder of the student hotel. We focus on a little bit of a different part of the spectrum, but very similar demographic profile as to what Marc's doing. I started the student hotel in 2004. A lot of research and development and trial and error, but effectively we opened our first student hotel in 2012 in Rotterdam. Since then, we've opened 9 hotels, I think. We have 9 hotels or 10 hotels under construction, and we're in the process of securing another 12 hotels in the next 12 months. Our goal is a bit like Marc's, apart from we're focused on European cities at the moment. We aim to have 35 hotels open by 2021, about 16,000 bedrooms. And we're really trying to create a network for predominantly students who come to stay for 5 or 10 months. We also have a short stay element aimed at a little bit level under you, I guess, young graduates, trainees, stagiaires, etc., but also startups. And then, of course, we have our hotel rooms, started off predominantly for mums and dads. And I think for this panel in hospitality, what's interesting is the demand for our hotel rooms has really been much more successful than we could have ever dreamed or hoped for. And the reason for that is because of the relaxed atmosphere that we have, which is created by our more longer term guests. So the hotel customer we see have really been looking for a totally different experience than what they experience in the Hilton Hotel. And I think that's what Marc's success is, and I think what our success is offering a different experience to the as a hospitality provider.
Okay, great. Jochem.
My name is Jochem Post. I'm the founder of HCRE, Healthcare Real Estate. Founded this company 6 years ago. We are a developer and investment company with a special focus on primary health real estate, primary health centers. So the general practitioners in a multidisciplinary setting with is it okay?
Can everybody hear okay?
Yeah. In a multidisciplinary setting with physical therapists, pharmaceuticals. Started, like I said, 6 years ago with several locations now in the Netherlands and some in development. And apart from that, we also do a lot of senior living. And 6 months ago, we opened our first location in Amsterdam, nearby the Museum Square, actually at the Museum Square. So nowadays 16 seniors who have quite severe illnesses are able to live on maybe the most spectacular place in the Netherlands, and which we are quite proud of. And the hospitality aspect in that, I think maybe even the same as in ZOKU and in the student living, is that we try to give healthcare a new dimension. That's one thing. The difference about it, which is interesting to discuss, is that healthcare is a necessity. You don't, although living at the Museum Square might be separated from that, but otherwise you don't live in a senior living setting when you are perfectly out of healthcare issues. So that's always something different from looking at the hospitality aspect. So that's why we really focus on reducing anxiety and stress levels of people that need to leave their home and have to live in a new setting, although they would prefer to live elsewhere.
Okay, great. Dirk.
My role is so much more simple than the role of my friends next to me. My name is Dirk Bakker. I'm head of Europe, Middle East, Africa for Colliers Hotels. I'm a partner in the overall business in the Netherlands in the real estate sectors. So any of these sectors are basically touching me either on a national level or on an international level. What we typically do as Colliers, as one of the larger real estate advisory firms in the world, but in my hotel section we claim a domain where we try to distinguish ourselves, where we're saying we're experts on the future. Now that's a bold statement, but in order to do that you need to understand clients, So what we've done is we've got an extensive collaboration with the Hotel Management School, The Hague, because that gives us both expertise and also millennial thinking people into our company. One, secondly, we formed a pact and a partnership with a company called Revenate that basically studies, and that's what they do, the market leaders in that, is customer reviews and analysis. And we need that because what Marc has done and what Charlie also has done is basically look at what consumers want, and on that basis they form concepts. And for us to be able to be the best advisors that we're trying to be, obviously, like anybody else would try, is we feel that we need to be close to data, and data we get from companies that are specialized. Third partnership we have is a company called AirDNA, which is basically the only and the best data scraper that scrapes data of Airbnb. So we really understand what Airbnb does, and we publish on that as well. And that's really what Colliers Hotels is all about.
Okay, great. I wanted to pick up with you, Charlie. Obviously, to a certain extent, you're picking up traditional hotels, but also student living. You mentioned, students in that sense. You mentioned that what actually your hotel guests liked was the fact that you'd got longer stay there and created a sense of that. But are there different requirements for those two types of guests that you've got, and how do you deal with that?
There are massive differences. I mean, what I really like about our models, we started with a wish to provide student rooms. In Holland, as we all know, it's pretty difficult to do within a residential setting, so we opted for a hotel, which gives us and gives both of us complete flexibility to build a product that suits our customers' needs instead of what a rule book says needs to be done. When we look at our customers' needs, the students are sacred customers. They have a lot of help and contact with our staff when they first check in, when they first come into the city, finding their way, understanding how things work, and then they know their way around a room. They know where the light switch is. They know how to go downstairs. They know where the gym is. They know where the bike is. So they come and say hello and have a coffee with us, but they don't need any contact. With a hotel guest, of course, you need much more contact, and that is changing. What Marc's doing, we're doing, what Citizen M are very good at. A check-in, getting a message saying your room's ready on the minute that it's ready. Check out by walk out. So if a customer is wanting no contact, they don't need it to have it. But there is, of course, a completely different business model from operation systems that run the whole building to cleaning packages and cleaning contracts if you're running a higher allocation of rooms towards students on 10-month contracts or 1 or 2 night contracts.
Okay, good. And Jochem, just in terms of yours, you mentioned a little bit in your introduction about how hospitality plays a role, maybe slightly different to how it plays a role in the hotels. How do you see that concept as it relates to yours, and particularly the difference, I suppose, between senior living and the kind of student housing and hotels that you've got, and also then how that segues into kind of more of the healthcare aspect of it?
As I said in my introduction, I think the main difference is that our clients preferably don't want to live in our apartments. Preferably they live somewhere else. So they enter their new habitat, their new living for the next couple of months, hopefully years, with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. So that, I hope, is totally different with a student who wants to live in Amsterdam and comes in an apartment of Charlie and goes down in the public area because he wants to meet with new friends.
I'm gonna intervene. And if you swap over, then, because I think there's just a bit of a buzz on those two microphones. Don't worry, because we'll just turn that one down. What I wanted to pick up a little bit was, in terms of the hospitality, obviously you've then got to provide some kind of social interaction around that, whether that's gym facilities, whether it's a swimming pool, whether it's bridge nights, whether it's whatever it is. So it's a different type of hospitality in a way.
Absolutely. it's a big difference. We don't have a swimming pool. We focus on people who have had a really critical incident, as we call it. So most of the time, the general practitioner or the children or a husband or a chooses that living at home is not is too dangerous. So we don't have crystal glasses and swimming pools and fancy dinners, but we try to focus on the intrinsic needs of the clients. So that means much more checking more at the clients if they have questions, if they have needs. No schemes on you have to shower at 9 o'clock. No obligations on whether they have to eat their food downstairs or in their rooms. We try to make life as normal as possible, because it is not possible to have a normal life anymore. But we try to give them as much a normal life as possible. For our role in that is mainly, of course, the real estate aspect. We try to invest a lot in logistics, normal logistics. Try to have a big living kitchen and invest in stuff like that. Try to make it as home, as much as home as possible.
And do you think the sort of let's take it earlier before you get into the healthcare kind of part of it? Certainly in the UK anyway, there's quite a big trend for people moving into senior living, which is well before they require healthcare really, and actually in my view has some synergies actually with student living. I mean, my father-in-law has just moved into one where they have very dramatic gin and tonic nights, which are certainly more fierce than happened when I was a student even. But what's your sense of that, Charlie, in terms of that crossover with what Charlie is doing maybe, and the sort of things that you've got? From a senior living perspective, do you think there's opportunities for that across Europe as well?
We are really focused on the Netherlands, but yes, why not? Of course.
Okay, good. And Loft, the kind of things that you're doing there, Marc, are they? It looks as though it's a new design. It struck me that it was also similar in a way to the other parts of the building that you're working in, where offices have changed as well, and there's far more co-working space, more flexible space. Have you taken a lead from what's been happening in the office space, or do you think that gradually office space will begin to take a lead on what you're doing, because it's really following what kind of the new people coming into the work environment are looking for?
In a way, ZOKU is stretching the definition of what a hotel is, and we're stretching the definition into more towards residential, and that's kind of the same trend what you see in our behavior at this moment. You see that boundaries between work and life, they are fading, right? We call that the bleisure generation, business and leisure, always on the iPhone, everything on demand. So that is a trend that is out there, and we see also that these borders are kind of blurring between what is hotel, what is living, what is residential, what is office, what is retail. And you see that they all kind of tend to mix together. And as these lives become more intertwined, I think that the solutions that we bring with real estate should also be like that. And I think if you stay on top of what the changing behavior in the target audience is doing, then I think that you are on top of what the people want, and then you keep creating the value. And at ZOKU, we think we're doing that, and at the same time, we want to stay in beta. So every day we keep talking to our guests. So we have one employee who's every day talking 2 hours with residents to really keep understanding what their needs and wants are, to keep kind of improving. And in the end, we see ZOKU also moving into co-living area, etc. Yeah. Okay, good.
And Dirk, obviously, you're looking particularly at the hotels side, but it can't have escaped you what the rest of your colleagues are probably pointing out, and Damien here, head of EMEA research, that within things like, I mean, I was struck by what you were saying about bringing the kitchen from the background into the foreground. And we've seen that a lot with retail as well, in terms of food and beverage suddenly becoming a far more important part of that. And really, the retail sector beginning to try to encourage the idea that instead of them being a shopper or a consumer, they're actually a guest. Do you see those kinds of things coming more out of the hotel side, and more of that idea of kind of hospitality and people being a guest spreading into the other sectors?
Well, yes, obviously this is happening in a very fast pace. But let me comment first. There's a word that comes into play in everything that everybody next to me has said, is the word experience. We're dealing with a millennial-minded. It's not only millennials. They're millennial-minded people who are older, completely technically engaged, who are seeking experiences. I was in Hong Kong in a similar panel like this with a bunch of millennials and a group of hotel specialists not so long ago. And somebody from the younger generation said, "Oh well, whatever you guys do, for us it has to be Instagrammable." And I thought, that says it all. It says it all. So retail is also about experience. There recently we've seen in the news that some of the icons of retail as we knew it are falling over, are changing, are disappearing, are reinventing themselves, whatever's happening. But the reinvention has to do with experience. So hotels, when Marc was saying it, they have chosen, this is quite a unique thing that I haven't seen in my 25 years in the hotel industry yet, where a hotel operator who does not own the building says, we will come to you, but we will like to choose our own neighbor. Now that tells you something about experiences. And Charlie's doing the same thing. He's got students, predominantly a lot of international students I would presume that you're dealing with all the time. They also are looking for experiences. And that can be retail, that can be Wi-Fi engaged, that can be mobile stations, that could be a speaker's corner. They're looking for experiences. And yes, so when you come into a modern office environment, it's the same thing. When I work in my office and as part of the owners of the business, I look at the numbers all day long on how we run our office. I don't want to worry about the coffee machine being broken or not. I want good coffee. I want excellent coffee. I want nothing but the best. I want my Wi-Fi to work. I don't care whether I have my own server or not from a business point of view. I just want it to work because I need to be able to talk to everyone in all the department heads that I'm dealing with to be able to do my work better. So it's the same thing. It's about experience. It's being able to share. So yes, it's changing.
And Jochem, we've heard a lot about the millennials and what their views are and how that's influencing it. But also we've got seniors moving back into cities and beginning to share those. Do you think there's also a drive from older people as well? Do you think there are changes happening in that part of the market as well? Do you think there are changes coming from that side, that it's coming from both ends in a way?
Absolutely, yes. Of course, the generation, my parents, I won't have to try to tell them what to do at the moment that they have a critical incident. They will decide for themselves. I believe so. And I, of course, from a professional point of view, have a lot of discussions with my parents and with the friends of my parents, and they are already telling me what I have to build for them.
No shit.
And they know exactly what they want. They know with whom they want to live. So that might be a link with what Marc said. I want to choose my own neighbor. Yeah, that's quite interesting. But it's from a professional point of view. I'm not very sure if they, in 10 years, if that is something which I have to build a business case around, that I say, okay, no problem. You choose 12 of your friends. You tell me what I have to build, and I will build the perfect senior living setting for you, because there might be some aspect that won't work from a business case point of view, that they will ask for the pool.
One big bar in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. They will ask for the pool, and before I started this business, I already worked at EMEA Vastgoed, and before that at Vesteda, and we were already at Vesteda. We were doing a lot of research. What does the baby boom generation, my parents, what do they want? What do we have to build for them? So we thought of all these concepts and stuff like that. But there's one big important thing, that when you need the healthcare, then is that the aspect that will lead you towards the setting in which you will live. And when you have a critical incident, when you have a severe issue, then you don't care about the pool anymore. You just want the best healthcare. So at Vesteda and at EMEA, the interesting, nice concepts about senior living weren't the concepts that we actually made. The concepts which we are making now are for the people that really need the healthcare, and we try to make it as nice as possible for them, but not the other way around, that we make interesting concepts and look afterwards, well, okay, you have a healthcare issue, now you can also get your healthcare here, because that is in practice not you can't do that.
Okay, good. I like the idea of very niche dating website that you could achieve around that, though, for people who want to live next door to each other. In terms of the, either Marc or Charlie, really, what's the typical age of the guests that you've got? Are you seeing kind of an older, richer audience coming into in terms of the guests staying at your places, particularly the more long-term ones, or what's the position? Obviously not the students, but...
in hotel guests we see quite an interesting demographic. It is older than you would expect. We got a lot of business travelers going in there. We Link, of course, and the whole brand is student at heart, so everybody, I hope, still has a piece of their student spirit in them. So it's really the people, and it takes a little bit of guts, I think, for a business traveller to book a room in the student hotel. So unlike Marc, most of our bookings come through booking.com at the moment, because we see that that's where they feel comfortable, that they're going to get a real hotel room, and it's for them, and we have to work quite hard, harder than a normal hotel, I think, or a differently branded hotel without the word student in there to get more direct bookings. But the demographic is quite old. I don't know the specific age. It used to be around about 38, 40 or something, but I think it's gone up a little bit. We have quite a few regular customers above the 80, which I find amazing, to go into the lobby and you see 85-year-old people sitting drinking coffee, and I speak to them and they love it. I mean, they really
those are the kind of guys that they won't visit your place.
It's his dad drinking gin and tonic.
They're waiting for the gin and tonic night. That's what it is.
Young at heart.
But it's an interesting question, and I'm totally fascinated also about the older generation, because I tease my dad that I'm going to put him in some old age folks home, and God, I don't know what he'd do. I mean, he wants to go to your dad's place and drink gin and tonics and have fun and Tinder for old people. So but it's interesting, because we've got such a different way where everything is blended together today, and everything is possible, and we do and we stay and we speak to whoever we want, and ages are all. So what happens when we get older? I mean, do we really have to go to these boring old age folks homes and stuff like that?
No, but if I may comment on that, there's another thing. The backdrop of all this, you need to realize that if you look at a city like Amsterdam, where certainly during the high season, there's the occupancies are way above 90%. So prices are going up, and if you look at the amount of tourist arrivals in the world that has been growing the last few years at a compounded annual growth rate of 5%, and meanwhile there's only 2% of beds being added to the market, so that delta of 3% is growing. And then but your budgetary restraints, so logically extended stay will benefit, student hotels will benefit, the miningers of this world, the generators of the world, the hostel business will benefit from that. And obviously you get a phenomenon like Airbnb that has its playing room in the 3%.
And I mean, obviously the models, Dirk, have changed quite a lot. We've got different models here in terms of the hospitality sector. How easy is that then for investors to understand these new models and want to get involved?
Well, I love that question, because if you look at the real estate sector, and this is where the hospitality sector is different from the traditional real estate sector, like offices and logistics and you name it. The typical real estate sector is institutional, so they're buying lease contracts with fixed returns on investment. And Charlie, you can add on that as well. The hospitality sector is constant, is innovative, is innovating at a very fast pace, whether it's coming from within the hospitality sector or from outside the hospitality sector. And typically where innovation takes place, there's private equity in play. And private equity likes to take chances. They're quick and calculated, take quick decisions, but private equity by definition innovates. And that you don't see that too much in the traditional sectors, and the traditional sectors will have to jump on the bandwagon at some point, because otherwise they're waking up sometime and they say, hey shit, our market's gone.
Hello, Cormac McGrew from PropertyEU. He stole my question. It's about institutional capital. So obviously here in the Netherlands, we're very good at blending and expanding the sort of concept of what a basic hotel room is. Maybe it's a Dutch-Scottish thing, but perhaps it is moving too fast for conservative institutional investors, perhaps like Anbang, who bought the DoubleTree next to Amsterdam Central Station yesterday, or at least we reported it. So can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, Charlie, you've had experience of getting cash infusions. I mean, is it all coming from the private equity side?
Yeah, for sure. I spent a long time knocking on a couple of hundred doors, asking everybody and their friends for money when I started this. The institutional guys were indeed looking for stability, track record, and a pretty watertight business case. Understandably, that's their business model. Private equity are prepared to take more risks. They're looking for a higher rate of return, of course. Again, for me, understandably. The first partner I did was with Carlyle Group, and fair play to them. They entered into building 1,500 student hotel rooms in a market where there was absolutely no evidence that it would work at all. All student housing was being provided by a housing corporation. So without them being prepared to take that initial risk, then innovation just wouldn't happen. And I'd like to point out, we've got to have a bit of sympathy for these big, the Intercontinentals and the Starwoods, because they've been sold so many times that the new buyers and owners are wanting to maintain a business plan. So for them to suddenly innovate with a funky common area or co-working or a new bar restaurant, who's really got the balls within that company to take the risk? Because it's just ticking all the boxes at the moment. So why bother? Why innovate?
I'll have a comment on that, because obviously I deal with a lot of these big hotel companies, and you see a lot of consolidation taking place, like Marriott buying Starwood, and you've got a lot of these brands. I hope there's nobody here in the room, because I'm going to be insulting a bit, but who needs another Crowne Plaza? Who needs another Westin hotel? They're providing a service that nobody wants. So yes, you see obviously a few of these hotel chains trying to be innovative, but it's by no means far enough. And I seriously doubt, personally, and again I'll push it a bit. What I don't see the Holiday Inn Expresses of this world exist 10 years from now. Sure, they'll be tired. The Chinese touring group staying there, but they won't stay at the ZOKU for now. But people are looking for experiences. People want a Hoxton. They want an Ace Hotel. They want experiences. And if the hotel chains don't jump on that bandwagon, there'll be more takeovers.
Okay. Any other questions? I've got one last one, which is in terms of hospitality. What do you think what's the one key thing that you think people should take away from this session, looking towards the future and innovation, because that's the topic we're covering on today? Marc, you can start.
I think a key takeaway is that, as I said before, that we see that borders are blurring. between the segments. And I think that will increase. Also, the demand for services will increase, demand for instant demand, etc. That will increase. I think that is also the reason for the hype in the co-working area, serviced offices, service residential, co-living, etc. I think that is the key takeaway.
Great. Charlie?
I think for us, we do all of what Marc said, and I think for us it's more having an open door policy. So we say that we're an open door hotel where we really try to think about what the neighbours need and want and get them involved in our properties, and really creating a community that's connected within the students, the short stay, the hotel, the co-working, the F&B, the gyms, and getting them all part of the same, really creating a vibrant heart in our locations, in our neighbourhoods.
Great. Jochem?
For senior living, I think the combination of being conceptual but also realistic. People have their needs, their healthcare needs, but it might be interesting if entrepreneurs more like Charlie and Marc, which are more conceptual thinkers than I am, try to combine their knowledge on hospitality with somebody who is realistic about what the primary needs are for somebody who has a health issue. But when you have a health issue, when you are 85, and you are 85, that doesn't mean that you want to sit in your room all day and realize that you are sick. It also means that somebody can give you new, interesting ways to keep on smiling, start smiling again, maybe.
Great. Dirk?
I totally agree with all of them, and I'll add to it that I think one of the key takeaways also is for the investors' corner, so to speak, is that they need to understand that there is much more than just a lease contract out there, and there are so many variations of operational revenue sharing, revenue-based models that they will have to start looking at. Otherwise, you will not be able to keep up the pace with the new types of co-living, co-housing, co-working systems that are coming into existence. And it will be difficult for institutionals to keep up because lease contracts will diminish.